You ever hear a car rip past you and think, there's no way that's legal? Yeah, chances are, it's not, and honestly, that's kind of the point. I've had cars roll into my shop running faster, cooler, and louder than stock, all thanks to mods that technically break the law, but wake up your ride in ways factory parts never will. Like bypass valves that let you silence your exhaust with a button, or O2 sensor tricks that fool your ECU into thinking your catalytic converter still exists. Yeah, we're going full outlaw garage today. And it's not just talk. In New York City, noise cameras caught 71 cars in 1 year, slamming each with $800 plus fines for illegal exhaust setups. That's real money for real mods. Some of these upgrades are genius, others flat out reckless. But they all have one thing in common: they work, and the performance gains are real. More power, better throttle, cooler temps, less restriction. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're just one ticket or one blown engine away from a nightmare. So if you've ever wondered what mechanics really think about these sketchy power mods, stick around. And hey, if you like saving money, unlocking hidden horsepower, and staying just barely on the right side of trouble, go ahead and subscribe. We're just getting started. Now, before we dive in, quick heads up. This video's for informational purposes only. Always check your local and federal laws before performing any modification. Don't blame me if your ride ends up an impound. Alright, let's get into it, starting with mod #1. Mod number 1, catalytic converter delete. I had this guy roll into the shop last month, big grin, louder than legal exhaust, and swore up and down he picked up 10 to 20 extra horsepower just from a catalytic converter delete. And honestly, he wasn't lying. Without that honeycomb restriction, the exhaust gases flow cleaner and faster, letting the engine breathe. On turbos, the difference is insane: quicker spool, better boost, and yeah, that aggressive sound you can't fake. But here's the deal: it's illegal in all 50 states. If your state does emissions testing, you're flirting with instant failure. Doesn't matter how clean your power is, if the EPA sniffs out a missing cat, you're facing fines, and maybe even avoided registration. So what's the move? Some drivers install a test pipe and keep the original in the garage, ready to bolt it back on for inspection. I've seen tuners write whole custom stories around their mods just to dodge ticket trouble. But be warned, if a cop with a sound meter and a trained ear pulls you over and sees that shiny straight pipe, no amount of sweet talking gets you out of enforcement. I always say, you want the performance? Fine. Just be ready to tell a damn good story when the law shows up. Mod number 2, ECU tuning for emissions defeat. I once had a guy come in with a stock WRX that felt like it was begging for more. We did a full ECU flash, killed the factory calibration, and suddenly the car came alive. We're talking sharper throttle response, smarter fuel trim, and just straight up smoother engine behavior. It's like we found the hidden power Subaru had locked away. But here's the catch: when you disable those emission systems, you're entering a full-on legal gray area. Especially in places like California, where even thinking about a tune can get your car flagged during a smog check. The crazy part? While mainstream tuning shops are playing it safe or shutting down, the underground black market is thriving. You wouldn't believe how many guys are out there reflashing factory ECUs with aggressive timing advance maps and custom control files to beat emissions tests. It's sketchy, but it's real. Want to dance on the edge of legality and wake up your ride? That's your call. But don't come crying when your state sends you a notice for failing your next test. Mod number 3, straight pipe with bypass valve. A buddy of mine built this Camaro that sounded like thunder when he wanted it to and whisper quiet when he didn't. How? A bypass valve system wired into his exhaust. It let him switch between full straight pipe mode and a muffled quiet operation, all electronically controlled with a button on the dash. No drone, no compromise, just pure flow and that aggressive note on command. It's the ultimate stealth mod. But here's the thing, this setup is technically illegal in a bunch of states. Why? Because it's a cutout system meant to dodge noise laws and skirt compliance. He actually passed inspection with the valve closed, then flipped it open for track days. But man, one slip up, like revving it past 4K near a cop, and boom, ticket, fines, or worse. Some areas treat these like full-on illegal modifications, no matter what mode you're in. It's that intent to defeat thing. And while the performance is real unrestricted flow, zero restriction, wild sound, you better know your local laws. Mod number 4, Crankcase Evacuation Kit, PCV Delete plus Vacuum Scavenge. You ever pop the hood on a turbo car and see oil mist around the valve cover? That's crankcase pressure blowing past the rings, and it kills performance over time. One of the cleanest solutions I've used is a crankcase evacuation kit. It's a stealthy mod that replaces the factory PCV valve with a vacuum-based scavenging setup. Under boost, it pulls gases out of the engine instead of letting them vent back into the intake. The result? Stronger ring seal, less blow-by, and better compression. It's a must-have on any serious forced induction build. But here's the dirty detail: it's illegal under most emissions laws because you're bypassing the OEM vent system and dumping gases that are supposed to be recycled. I've seen guys pass track tech with it, but get nailed at a street inspection. If you're going this route, at least pair it with a proper catch can and know your local laws. This hidden gain isn't just about power, it's about engine longevity too. Ever install one and notice your oil stays cleaner longer? Or catch heat from a tech who knew exactly what he was looking at? Mod number 5, Airbag Suspension Conversion. I worked on this slammed G35 that glided like butter on the freeway but could hop over a speed bump at the push of a button. Full airbag suspension conversion, custom tuning, adjustable ride height, and better weight transfer during braking and cornering. On the track, the handling improvement was night and day compared to stock. But legally, that thing was a ticking time bomb. Most states consider this mod a violation of DOT standards, especially if your setup drops the car below factory geometry limits. If you're running full-on bags, expect extra eyes at every inspection. I've seen guys fail because of poor installation, or worse, insurance companies denying coverage after an accident due to non-compliant suspension systems. There's real risk here. Blow a bag at speed and it's not just a failure, it's a potential accident. Not to mention the cost. Proper installs from professional shops run thousands. But get it right, you get function, form, and insane control. Just don't expect the regulations to care how good your car looks dumped at a show. Mod number 6, Active Grille Shutter Delete. Ever notice how some cars barely overheat in traffic but suddenly run hot on the highway? I had a customer with a turbo Mustang that kept spiking temperature on long pulls. Turned out those factory active grille shutters were the culprit. The system was designed to reduce drag and help with emissions, but it also choked off airflow to the radiator when he needed it most. We did a full delete and hardwired the fans to kick in earlier, and boom, way better cooling, even at speed. It's a hidden mod with real gains, especially if your car runs hot under boost. The kicker? This little bypass can actually trigger ECU errors if your sensors expect those shutters to move and they're stuck open. Some cars even log it as a fuel or intake issue. Still, if you're pushing your engine hard, removing that restriction helps keep your coolant where it should be. Just know, depending on your state, this tweak may violate emission standards or thermal control rules. It's a total stealth override, but a risky one. Mod number 7, Electric Fan Conversion from Clutch Fan. Back in the day, I swapped a clutch fan out of an old Chevy truck for an electric setup and instantly felt the difference. The engine revved quicker, had sharper throttle response, and I swear I gained a few horsepower just from removing that old parasitic drag. Those mechanical fans are constantly spinning even when you're just idling at a light. With a proper conversion, your fan only kicks on when your cooling system actually needs it. It's one of those sneaky performance mods that also helps with temperature control and high RPM airflow, especially in warm climates or boosted builds. But here's the catch: newer cars tie fan operation into the emissions control system, and a delete or custom wiring job can flag your ECU or cause detection errors during inspection. Some models will throw codes if the auxiliary fan doesn't match expected RPM behavior. It's technically illegal in states that enforce strict emissions laws. Still, for older vehicles or off-road rigs, the benefit is hard to ignore. I've done a bunch of these swaps and always tell customers it's not just about power, it's about smarter cooling at speed. I had a guy bring in a BMW M4 who swore his car was holding him back on launches. Sure enough, the factory traction control was cutting power every time he tried to get aggressive off the line. We installed a hidden kill switch that let him fully disable the nanny systems, and man, what a difference! More grip when he needed it, and full freedom to drift or burn out without that annoying stability nanny kicking in. It's one of those fun but risky mods, especially if you daily your car on the street. Here's the thing though, this kind of override might be fine for race or off-road use, but it's technically illegal to remove safety features designed to prevent accidents. Some cars tie the system into ECU programming, so even adding a toggle or button can trigger warning lights or raise eyebrows during inspection. And if you wreck the car while the system's off? Insurance might argue you were being reckless. I get it, no one likes an overprotective computer ruining your launch. But if you're going this route, at least know the legal risk. Mod number 9, secondary air pump delete. A couple months back, I had a guy come in with a cold start that sounded like a leaf blower. Turned out the secondary air pump was on its last legs, noisy, pointless, and doing nothing but burning extra fuel during startup. We did a full delete, cleaned up the exhaust routing, and freed up some space under the hood. Bonus? Dropped a few pounds of dead weight. These systems were designed to pump fresh oxygen into the exhaust to reduce pollution during cold idle, but once the car's warm, they're dead weight. The result? Cleaner look, smoother idle, and no more leaf blower. Here's the catch: this mod is a guaranteed smog fail in most states. That pump plays a role in emissions efficiency, even if it's outdated. Delete it without proper tuning, and your ECU throws a code or check engine light. It can also trigger a warning for running lean at startup. I've seen folks try to plug it or bypass the valve, but detection during inspection is still possible, especially if your area does visual checks. Want to do this right? Get it tuned, and make sure you're not tripping a vacuum leak. Anyone else rip out their air pump and notice a difference? Mod number 10, Transmission Control Module, TCM, Flash. I worked on a charger scat pack last month where the guy said, "It feels fast, until it shifts." No-life factory TCM software is designed to protect the transmission, not maximize performance. We ran a custom flash to adjust shift timing, increase torque converter lockup aggressiveness, and shave that annoying delay between gears. Instantly better launch, sharper RPM climbs, and more response when punching it at speed. These mods can completely transform automatic cars. It's like giving your left foot back without a clutch. But yeah, there's a catch. Tuning the control module like this often violates compliance rules tied to factory safety, fuel economy, and emissions programming. Some ECUs are locked, others send flags back to the dealership for detection. It's technically illegal in a lot of places, especially if your adaptation affects drivability in ways the car wasn't crash tested for. Still, if your factory setup is killing your power, this override wakes the car up. Just make sure your tuner knows how to balance aggressive behavior with long-term health. Mod number 11, O2 sensor spacers/foulers. Had a guy roll in last week with a check engine light right after a catalytic converter delete. Told me he thought his tuning would handle it. Nope, that rear O2 sensor caught the change and flagged a code. Classic mistake. So we threw in a spacer, one of those threaded screw-in foulers that pulls the sensor slightly out of the exhaust stream. It's an old-school hack, but it works like a charm to bypass the detection logic. No more check engine light, no more limp mode. Just smooth engine response, even with a straight pipe. But yeah, Don't let the simplicity fool you. This little mod is illegal under federal emissions laws. You're tampering with how the ECU reads oxygen content, and that can flag a fail at inspection if someone spots the trick. Still, it's a popular loophole among DIYers and weekend warriors who want to go catless without the annoying dashboard light. Just be smart with the install and know what you're doing. Conclusion. Look, I'm not here to tell you what to do with your ride. You want more power, better throttle response, cooler temps? These mods deliver. But just remember, when you mess with emissions gear, safety systems, or anything the EPA's got eyes on, you're rolling the dice. Some of these tweaks can wake up your car like nothing else. But they can also wake up your wallet if the law catches up. So if you're gonna run illegal mods, know your local laws, have a backup plan, and be ready to put on your best poker face at inspection. Which one of these mods have you done or want to try next? Drop it in the comments, I read every one. And if you want a part 2 with more sketchy upgrades that actually work, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. Until next time, keep it fast, keep it smart, and don't let the smoke catch up to you.